Thanks, Jill, and thanks for including me in this important discussion of monitoring programs for urban tree planting, especially those on private property. I want to share with you the results of two overlapping monitoring efforts for a cohort of trees distributed in Houston, Texas area through the Arbor Foundation's Energy Saving Trees program. So Energy Saving Trees focuses investments by electric utility companies on large-scale distributions of shade trees to improve home energy efficiency while reducing peak energy demand for the utility. Thanks to startup funding from the U.S. Forest Service and a collaboration with the Davy Resource Group, we've built an interactive, easy-to-use tool for the customer powered by iTree Design, and it works like this. When a customer gets to the landing page for the program in their area, they simply enter their address, which takes them to an image of their property where they can outline their house using the transparent box that appears. Then they can add a tree to their landscape around their home with guidance on the best locations for energy saving in their part of the country. The final step involves selecting the tree species from among those recommended by state and local foresters, which then displays the projected energy savings for that species, the side of the house, the climate zone, and the distance from the structure. These steps are designed to engage the homeowner by placing the tree or trees on their property to optimize their energy saving benefits. Now, we have two basic models for getting the trees into the hands of the customer who ordered them. Direct delivery, shown here, by which bare root or container-grown plugs are shipped by common carrier and show up on a customer's doorstep, complete with planting instructions and tips for aftercare. Second method is a centralized pickup event. Here, the utility partner can take a more hands-on approach to delivering both larger trees like 3 or 5, up to even 15-gallon container-grown trees, and they can add an education component with planting demonstrations, electric safety messaging, etc. Now, we work with each utility to plan and execute the model that suits their needs and their strengths, as well as their geography. And we see high satisfaction from customers in both models. To give you the scope of the Energy Saving Trees program nationally, we've now worked with more than 24 utilities, 1 real estate company, 1 municipality, the City of Orlando, and 2 state forestry agencies in Rhode Island and now in Florida across 27 different states. And here are the cumulative results since 2011. We've now distributed more than 135,000 trees, which are projected to save a total of 294 million kilowatt hours. That's the equivalent of taking more than 25,000 households off the grid for an entire year. And just as important, our utility and other partners have now invested more than $3.2 million and have engaged more than 76,000 homeowners in tree planting in their communities. So hopefully you can agree that Energy Saving Trees offers a great opportunity for new investment in urban forestry on private residential property by utility, state, and local partners, providing both individual benefits to the homeowner and cumulative benefits to the partner and the broader community. But I'm sure you will also agree that the projected benefits only materialize over those 20 years if the 135,000 trees distributed are alive and growing. So last year, we decided to take a look into tree survival rates for these energy-saving trees. And some questions quickly came to mind. Which delivery system, direct shipping or pickup, results in better survival? Which of our products, the bare root versus the container-grown trees, produce the best results? And are the trees planted in places that will deliver the projected savings? Now, we want to know these answers because we should know them. All large-scale tree distribution programs should monitor tree survival and growth, at least if you want to improve program outcomes, such as increased canopy, cleaner air, cleaner water, lower energy bills, etc. So this past fall, we conducted our first systematic surveys of energy-saving trees to assess tree survival following the first growing season. First, we developed an online questionnaire through the free SurveyMonkey tool based on a similar set of questions used by Tree Philly for their tree giveaways. The CenterPoint Energy program was organized as a pickup event in the spring of 2015, and the survey covered questions about survival and care for each of the 5-gallon trees that they received. The survey link was emailed to all 848 customers that actually picked up trees on the day of the event, accounting for 1,591 total trees distributed. Ultimately, we received 267 completed surveys for a response rate of 31.5%. And those voluntary responses give us this picture. So on this chart, each category's results represent an average of trees across households, since the survey represents answers from household recipients, and some households got 1 tree and others 2. But the results are certainly encouraging. Survivability at the registered address was very good as reported by the homeowners, greater than 76%. They did tell us that some trees, 11%, were given to others or planted at a school or a park. So not necessarily the program's intended purpose, but most of those trees were actually alive. And only a small number of trees went unplanted, just 6%. When we asked homeowners how they cared for their trees, here's what they told us. 9 out of 10 trees were planted away from overhead power lines. Now that's an important part of the educational messaging for our utility sponsors of these programs. In addition, watering and mulching practices were very common, and most homeowners reported that they did not prune or stake their trees, which is actually a good thing for these young saplings. But since these results reflect voluntary responses, we have to ask if they are truly representative of the program. So from the same list of 1,591 trees distributed through the CenterPoint program, we randomly selected 320 trees to conduct site visits by urban foresters from the Texas A&M Forest Service. In September and October of 2015, at the end of that first growing season, TFS foresters were able to document results for 289 trees. Now, our audit procedures and data definitions were adapted from the urban tree monitoring protocol that Lara Roman and her colleagues have established as a minimum data set for performing this sort of field work on cohort plantings of urban trees. And here's what they discovered about this particular program in Houston. A majority of trees, of sampled trees, were observed at their registered address and alive after the first growing season. But 10% of trees were still in the pot, waiting to be planted. And almost 40% of the trees were missing from the site. And I'll touch more on this in just a bit. But as I reflect on these results from a purely programmatic standpoint, I still see a good deal of success here for this Houston program. Sure, there's room for improvement, but we helped CenterPoint generate significant goodwill among their customers through this tree giveaway, which is continuing again this spring. We engaged more than 1,000 Houston area homeowners in planting trees for energy savings, and the shade produced by these trees will save the company and those homeowners significant amounts of energy, making the program well worth the investment. Now, as for tree care, the results are actually even better than the SurveyMonkey results. Here, we saw that 99% of the audited trees were planted away from power lines. Again, great results for a program that aims to plant the right tree in the right place. Now, of the 146 living trees, those in good condition and trees without dieback were very positive results. In other words, if the tree was found on the site, it was likely to be in pretty good shape. Likewise, none of the trees showed evidence of pruning. So our educational messaging about some of those maintenance practices is obviously getting through. But let's look a little closer at these two sets of survivability results and see what else they can tell us. First, we did see a significant difference between the SurveyMonkey survey and the field audit of trees. There was 25% greater survivability as reported by the homeowners compared to the field audit, 76% versus 51%. There were fewer trees that were not planted, just 6% reported in the survey versus 10% in the audit. But those missing trees are harder to analyze because in an audit situation, you don't really know why. Is the tree still alive at another location? Or did it die in the pot and get thrown away? Or was it planted, later died, and then removed? We just don't know. But the SurveyMonkey results tell us that at least some of these missing trees are indeed alive, just somewhere else. But one difference seems clear. There does appear to be a significant bias in the SurveyMonkey method, whereby a greater number of homeowners that had successful tree planting results responded to our voluntary survey instrument. Which means we may simply want to temper our enthusiasm for the digital method. Now, we like it because it isn't hard to set up and replicate. It also allows a direct touch point to all of the recipients in a tree distribution, which can reinforce customer satisfaction. On the flip side, if this is the very next interaction you have with a customer, your results can be skewed because those that gave their tree away or didn't plant it are now embarrassed to tell you so. And that's where the bias can creep in, making the case for the accuracy of the field audit. But field work requires a significant amount of time and energy. We were lucky to have the Texas A&M Forest Service as a partner in this case. But their effort added up to more than 360 hours of staff time, more than 2,600 miles driven just within the Houston area alone. On the map that's in front of you, the distance between the two farthest points is greater than 100 miles. And their total cost was more than $14,000 over a 6-week period. And one other consideration, to audit a random sample that paints the correct picture of the entire population, field personnel have to gain access to the assigned properties. But homeowner contact by email and phone can be spotty, so it often takes more than one attempt to contact a homeowner for permission. My message here is be friendly, be respectful, but be persistent so that you can get some accurate results. Well, I can tell you a few of the things that we're now pursuing based on these initial results. We know that this example in Houston is just one data point in our monitoring program. It'll certainly help us improve the program there, but CenterPoint's program is different than others around the country. So we'd like to conduct more surveys in more locations to understand more about our other programs. Is survivability better for direct mail or pickup events? Which products and which species perform best? And we want to use this information to improve the programs we're already delivering with our Energy Saving Trees partners. Are we providing the necessary support to get homeowners to plant their tree as soon as they get it home? Are we communicating the importance of planting it for energy savings? Could we send email reminders on initial watering and follow-up care? These could be pretty simple ways to strengthen that relationship between the Arbor Day Foundation, the partner, and the customer to arrive at improved survivability. One item not reported today is a comparison between the audited tree location and the location the homeowner established when they reserved their tree. We now have 146 trees for which we have both sets of coordinates. So is there a difference in projected energy benefits between these two locations? And we'd also like to continue this field audit option in order to make the case to public utility regulators in key states that our audit protocol would meet their requirements for monitoring, and therefore the utility partners should be permitted to invest energy efficiency dollars into these programs thereby planting thousands more trees each year. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. I want to thank Lara Roman and Yekang Ko and Henning for their guidance on conducting this work and analyzing the results, and also Erica Smith-Fishman at Tree Philly for sharing her survey questions, and all my friends at the Texas A&M Forest Service for conducting the field audit and for working with us on such short notice. So I'll leave with our contact information and this final take-home message that I think we all agree on this presentation today. In order to understand the performance of tree distribution and planting programs, it's not enough to count how many trees we gave out. To really understand how we're doing, we need a monitoring component to evaluate survival and growth, which can pinpoint areas for improvement and ultimately generate optimum tree benefits over time. In other words, we need to base our expected benefits on empirical evidence of tree survival. Thanks again for having me, and I'll turn it back to Jill for the question.